The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
All right, it's episode number 33. It is 151 days till the man burns as of this recording. I am still kind of recovering from this ridiculously amazing weekend that I experienced at my friends Mark and Lana's wedding, which was held at the Fire Garden. Some of you might be familiar with the Fire Garden if you live in Southern California or if you visited here. The Fire Garden is the property of a gentleman by the name of Tony Doula. I believe it's pronounced Doula. Tony is a metal worker, and the Fire Garden is his personal property. His house is on there, but he has some really amazing art out there. It is kind of a photographer's wet dream with all the textures, and there's like these old pianos, and there's this metal work, and there's fire. So it's a pretty cool place. Like if you've been around here, they've had a lot of weddings there, and there's burner events. And if you're looking to have your event there, you could Google Fire Garden San Diego, and that property will come up. It's like an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half away from San Diego, and it took longer to get to Mark and Lana's wedding this particular weekend because like a plane crashed on the freeway. So, they were like a little worried about rain and like other shit is falling from the sky. So that was kind of a trip. But I got to be a groomsman in their wedding, and it was really such a beautiful experience. Mark and Lana are a couple that I met on my first Utopia. And for those of you who are regular listeners to the show, you probably know that my first Utopia was my introduction to the burner community. So it was really truly an honor. It was really spectacular to be able to be a part of that. And it's really amazing experience. I mean, they paid so much attention to every little detail. The theme of the wedding was raptors and robots. And, like everybody got to take home this little like miniature like glass thing that had like a piece of a dinosaur fossil in it, and it had like a piece of a robot and a piece of the meteorite that they used to make their rings. Just what a truly spectacular experience. I so honored to be a part of it, and I love those two so much. And speaking of my first Utopia, that segues to our guest today, coincidentally or synchronistically, I don't know what the word is. I don't think it's a word. I think I'm just making it up. But there's a connection here to the first Utopia because I also got to spend a lot of time at Triptych's camp. Triptych, who of course is our guest today, 3 members of Triptych. That's Alexandra, Jim, and Luis, who are you're going to hear an interview with myself and them coming up here very shortly. And you will hear some stories about my first Utopia, which you may have already in previous episodes. I'm sorry, some of you listeners have brought to my attention that I do repeat some of the stories, which I guess it's bound to happen when we're recording this many of these. So if you've already heard some of those, I apologize. Hopefully this time around it's better. It's like the 2016 remake of the original 80s movie you loved so much. But as you guys know, producer Meg is the one that books the shows. And I don't think Meg knew how many connections I have to individual members of Triptych, which we're going to get into on this show. There's multiple connections, multiple important life experiences that I've had that have involved multiple members of Triptych. And Triptych is a camp that has really come up very quickly in notoriety. Very, very easy name to remember. Perhaps that is a contributing factor. The other major factor that we know is a fact, has been a major part of why Triptych has grown so quickly in such a short amount of time, is that they've been extremely professional about their execution of how they get their camp together. We've heard a lot of big rumblings. There's a lot of gossip and conversation throughout the community about how big Triptych is going to be. That's the prediction, at least. And I know that makes them a little nervous hearing me say that, but it is a fact. Like that is something that is being talked about throughout the community. They've already made a big noise in the community as a whole and on Playa in a very, very short amount of time, which is very impressive. And we're excited to see what happens with them next. For those of you who attended Utopia this past year, and you've heard on previous shows, we talked about that there was a tragic passing of an individual that happened at Utopia. It was the first death at our festival. Thankfully, it did not get a storm of negative attention. People were very respectful of this individual's privacy. I did not personally know this person, but the tragedy did happen at Triptych's in that general region, in Triptych's area. And so at first you'll hear me when we start to talk about it, I wasn't sure if it was something they would be comfortable talking about. In fact, I completely forgot that it had even happened in their area. So when you'll notice when that part of the conversation comes up, it feels a little awkward on my end because I'm like, wait, are we okay talking about this? I wasn't sure because we hadn't hit that subject prior. But we went ahead and got into it. And it was really nice. It was really nice to be able to really hear from that end of the story, hear what was going on behind the scenes, to really get a lot of closure and clarification. And so there is that emotional section of the story. So that comes up towards like the final third of the conversation. So just a heads up on that. But the rest of it, of course, we have lots of great laughs. We go back down memory lane. We get into the history of Triptych and how they came together. And while this is happening, my car is getting towed outside, by the way. Yeah, while we're recording the interview, beep, 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 my car, it's getting taken away because I parked in a spot that it's very strange. I knew I shouldn't have. I parked and I got out of the car and I started to walk away and I had this thought, like, maybe I shouldn't park my car there. I wonder if I should double check if I'm okay to park there. And for some totally insane reason, I did not double check it. I cannot get my brain around why I didn't. Afterwards, I walk right back into the apartment and I tell the people who were just my guests, like, my car just got towed. And so, Jim and Luis didn't hesitate. They're like, yeah, we're going to drive you down there right now. Alexandra is like, yeah, dude, don't worry about it. You can crash here. If you need to drive my car tomorrow, you're welcome to. So, I mean, it was really sweet. It was really nice. And in that moment, I felt so protected and so loved and so grateful for being able to be a part of this community and having this amazing family and having these amazing friends. And we got to the tow yard. We were able to stop them from pulling that shit that they try to pull, which they tell you like, oh no, now it has to stay overnight and you owe $500. Fuck you. No, we got there before that happened. So that was good. And I felt so relieved. And I feel like the lesson from the universe was, it's just money. I've been a starving artist for a very, very long time, and I'd been to some very dark places, and for so long I was so terrified of spending the tiniest dime on anything on myself. And I feel like this was a lesson from the universe that, hey, it's just money. So I appreciate that lesson. Thank you. But let's go ahead and get into today's show. Today's episode is entitled simply Triptych. It's a camp profile. So when it's a camp profile, we just name it the camp name. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was a fly with the buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
art itself, you know? Absolutely. Like how to talk to people and get information out of people and make it.
That's a huge thing too. Like, because a lot of times people keep asking, like, why don't you do more phone interviews? Because we have people from all over the globe that are not only happy but excited and like asking, like, can we get on the show? I'm like, fuck, I'd love to, but it just doesn't have the same energy.
Right.
And like one of the things is like you can ask much more probing and uncomfortable questions in person with body language and smiles. You know,
you soften that a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
And then like it hasn't really like I don't think it's happened much on this show, but on Crappy Awesome, we've had a few situations where the guest says some shitty stuff, like says something super homophobic or something, right? And I'm like, and so I'll totally like jab them, right? I'll call them out on it, crack on them, totally clown them, but I'll do it with a facial expression that'll make them think like, oh, we're on the same page here. So they'll let it go. Whereas if I did that on the phone, they might want to chase me down and beat the shit out of me. Anyway. So, so we're officially recording now, and we have 2 mics, so that there's, backup and all that, just in case something crashes. Introduce yourselves one by one so that the listeners can know who they're listening to, and it's not because I don't know who you are.
My name is Luis Martinez. Some of the community might know me as Luis Triptych. I'm one of the organizers of the Triptych theme camp based out of San Diego.
My name is Ale, or Alexandra Norton, also one of the Triptych organizers out of San Diego. Team up with Lewis on a lot of spreadsheet magic behind the scenes.
Right. I'm Jim Warnicki, aka the God Particle. I do kind of general problem solving on site, building and music stuff, run sound from time to time. Just kind of the utility guy on site when we have stuff going
jack
down.
of all trades.
That's funny. Jim and I met at some like random house party. How many years ago was that?
Oh, dude,
that was like 7 or 8 years ago.
It was Nicole Hurtado's house party.
Yeah. Oh, it was her house, huh?
Yeah, it was in Nicole's house in Vista.
That's crazy.
I didn't realize you were at that.
Yeah, I was there too.
And I think I should have later.
I remember we were both a little bit kind of standoffish to all the people there, but then we like latched onto each other at some point in the night, and like we just kind of like stuck to it, and we hung out like most of the night. And by the end of the night, I just remember leaving and just saying over and over again, Arash, you were my favorite person. and then we didn't see each other for the longest time. Yeah. For the longest time, and I remember we like came together at Burning Man. I'm like, oh
well,
my
no,
God.
it was at Utopia because that was my first burn event.
Utopia, that's right. Yeah,
I
we
was
linked it there.
Seeing that you guys were going to these events, and I was seeing like photos from it, and that's the thing about burner events is that like when you look at just the photos of it and you don't know what the feel is, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Right?
It's a bunch of people in weird clothes standing around in like a park. Like, how is this interesting to anybody? But yeah, no, I remember like we stayed connected, and like my favorite was that I randomly had a text from you. I think we had, like there was some party you were promoting,
right?
And this text always stayed with me. It said, "You're my favorite random dude I ever met at a party."
I remember saying that.
So then, so flash forward. So my first Utopia Triptych had, I don't know, like what. So this is what I'm trying to figure out what year it was for you guys at that Utopia. This was like 3 years ago, I think.
That's probably our first year.
That was the first year.
Yeah,
I could have sworn the year before
2013.
that.
Yeah.
Were we in the spot that we were last year, or were we in a completely different spot?
Different spot.
That was the first year.
Yeah. There was like a cuddle puddle on the floor.
There's always a cuddle puddle.
Okay. I feel like that was like the center of the camp, though. Like, I could be wrong.
It was the one like in the trees, and we had the 3 treasures, and the guy had the flags, the glow flags all next to it.
Yes.
That was year 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the emergency exit.
Yes.
We had the emergency exit.
That spot was actually not meant to be a spot whatsoever. And I don't think it's like fully been a spot since. But they've incorporated a little bit, but they kind of just threw us over there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how that year came to be. How long before your first year as Triptych did the conversation start to happen about being a camp?
I guess we kind of came together pretty organically. Some of us had worked together in a different capacity with an event production company that we had formed. And then some of the people that joined up were actually people that we had met at Utopia prior. So
the event production company was to promote parties, DJs.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the name of it?
Audio Impact Entertainment.
Okay,
which
I do know Audio Impact.
we haven't thrown an event as Audio Impact Entertainment in 2 years.
Since Triptych started.
Pretty much since
Triptych pretty much enveloped our lives after we started it. In a good way though. So it's.
How long were you guys doing Audio Impact?
Before Triptych, that's
2010, I think, right? You were doing it the winter before I moved up.
okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because it was before you moved to Southern California, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
It started with Mark Hoke, who did all the
He was Wolfpack.
Wolfpack lead this year. It was Lewis and Raul, who actually I produce music now with, and that was the start of it. And I remember it was the first event was at the Vista Entertainment Center,
which is a bowling alley here in North County.
Yeah.
And
North County, San Diego.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And what I'll say about it is the event looked great, but we had no clue what we were doing. We had no clue. And if people were there, they probably would have really enjoyed it. But there was like our best friends were like, "You're doing a thing. We'll come and support you. This costs way too much." Like, we didn't know how to price it. Like we didn't know what.
How much was it?
It was $15 for a bunch of no name DJs. And having never done an event before, it was like you could probably go see a really great performer for $15. So we were like, yeah.
I paid for that. I wasn't actually a part of the company.
You came on later. But yeah, so we had no clue what we were doing, but I think we probably would have given up right then and there because there was nobody there and we were really bummed out. But one of the people who worked at the bowling alley was so stoked on what we were doing. You guys got to keep going. You keep doing what you're doing. You guys just reach for the stars. And I think that maybe propelled us to just keep going after it. And luckily, we met some really great people that later became part of Triptych, and we all came together and started creating this super awesome thing that just envelops all of our lives. It's so fun. So
you don't want to say that Audio Impact evolved into Triptych? Triptych's a whole different thing?
It's definitely a completely different thing.
I wouldn't say that as much.
I would. I think it definitely plays a role. Audio Impact. We were kind of like the school of hard knocks, so we learned a lot of lessons from Audio Impact. But I think all of us coming together really created the magic that is Triptych. If it wasn't for all the people that we work with, it just wouldn't be the same. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I remember at that time I kept I've always been big into trance, so I just remember every time I'd go to a show. Maybe it was a lot of Audio Impact people that I was running into. I was like, fuck, every river I meet is from North County. There seems to be a big population of trance fans up here, or at least were, when I was still able to go to shows, back when we still had shows. Any thoughts on why that is? This is literally just because I want to know. It has nothing to do with Burner Podcast. I just feel like there was a big raver community in North County.
I would say there was. We were trying to capture that at the time when we were doing Audio Impact. I mean, it was when Electro House and kind of that stuff was coming up at the time. And there wasn't really a whole lot going on in North County, and we were trying to just establish a show anywhere. I mean, really, the first event that I officially came on with was I used to practice with a rock band or with a few different rock bands at a music studio in San Marcos. It was like a practice space. It was almost like a college. Right? Yeah, it was like a college dormitory, but for a bunch of low life musician guys who were just renting out these rooms for $500 a month between 8 different people and hanging out and getting drunk and practicing music every once in a while. And then once that started to fizzle out, I kind of got jaded on the whole rock music thing. But there was still this really cool space that existed. Yeah. And I'd never actually seen a bigger party happen there before. And it just so happened they had a larger space, almost a full-size venue. like warehouse space with like a full stage built in. I'm like, we can do something here. Like this could be something, you know, like different. Like we could actually like make an event happen here. And I mean, we like rented it out for a very modest price. Thank you, Adam, at the time.
Yeah.
Like, he had no idea what
Experience Studios, Adam.
EXP Studios. And like he had no idea what he was getting into. It was like the funniest thing. Well, he had it's like a door security, which were the guys who ran like the Epicenter, this like spot in like
Mira Mesa?
Yeah, exactly. Like he had the security team.
They're all scary bikers. They were like,
No. They had nothing to do with it. They were just kind of the guys like watching the door. Like the security. I'm doing quotes right now. We're like, this guy Grizz, who was like a hardcore biker dude, and inside the space they like set up their Harleys in like this like flying V formation.
they put some caution tape all around like their bikes to like kind of link them together, and like,
good lord,
it was kind of a scary thing. But you know what? No one got out of hand at that party though. So
and I mean, it ended up being like over 300 people, and like cops never rolled through there. I mean, there was like a few hitches throughout the night. I mean, there was like, we had to run 100-foot extension cables from like different areas of the house, like the complex and stuff.
The room that we set up the whole event, they weren't really set up for power.
Yeah.
And like we didn't really realize that until we got like an hour or two before the show started, and so we were like running, like you said, extension cable all over the place, and just trying to make it work.
And I was like thinking back to the people that we booked at the time too, and we had some like really cool artists there. We had Alex like Ortiz, who's part of Electric Cocoon, who was doing it at the time. You know, like doing all like the part of the crew, just like all the Vortex events and everything. And it was pretty cool. I just remember one of my favorite moments for the night is we had hung a bunch of lights up on like this trussing that was like drilled into the ceiling, because you know there was still like stage lighting and stuff for the bands that would practice on stage, and we, for whatever reason, we didn't have a ladder. I don't know what happened to it.
I think someone left with it,
Yes.
or like they took it home. We had borrowed it, you know, for setup, and it was gone for teardown.
And someone had like taken the ladder, and we're like, how are we gonna get these lights down, that we had to give back to somebody. I don't even remember who we borrowed them from. So what I had to do was I backed my truck up into this warehouse space, right? And we had to put a fold-up table in the back of my truck, like in the bed of the truck. And then we had to put a smaller ladder on the table in the back of my pickup truck in this warehouse space. And Mark had to climb up there and like try to cut these things down with just like some sketchy knife. And like ended up like slicing his finger open. I was like,
School of Hard Knocks.
School of Hard Knocks.
So it sounds like you guys were putting in your training for the burn. Basically sounds like every burn setup ever.
Safety was fourth. They found sixth that night, but no one got that seriously.
That's great. Did you guys break even on that?
Yeah, we
Actually, that was one of the good ones, I would say.
We didn't make like a lot of money, but we actually made money. We're like, maybe there's like something we could do, professionally in terms of like production.
Maybe we should incorporate more bikers. That was, maybe we should bring that back.
Totally. There's some story I heard about like how like the Hells Angels that like now like do security, like they end up building a security company outside of like their own biker gang. So apparently they're not the first ones to have it.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't like Woodstock, but it was some like a Black Sabbath show or something like that, where like Hells Angels just ended up like destroying a bunch of hippies in the islands.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe not do that. It's funny, just even like continuing on that, like all the ravers that I kept meeting from North County. Another connection I had with you guys was I met Richard.
Aldana?
Yeah.
Aldana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, met Richard Aldana. I met him at Shane 54 Mayan show at 4th and B.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
We were helping to promote that one.
Yeah. Dude, who was, and I remember, who was like the main dude that was promoting those shows down there at 4th and B?
Oh, Carlos.
His name. Yeah. Carlos.
What was his last name?
Yeah, I remember Carlos. Like, I met him through another artist friend of ours. And yeah, he invited me to a show, and I had like a really fucking great time. And I'm like, I'd love to meet somebody here who doesn't live in North County, but all right. I guess everybody here lives in North County. But that's when I met Richard. And then so at the first Utopia, that's like when I, reconnected with you there at La Jolla Indian Reservation, also with Richard. Spent a lot of time talking to him. So it's just funny, like all these little links that existed before. So let's go back to sort of like who was the first person to bring up the idea of Utopia? How did that come across your radar?
So I had an ex back east who got into burner culture right after I moved out here and invited us back to go to the local burn they have in Delaware, Playa del Fuego. We went to that. And
Playa del Fuego, it's called?
Playa del Fuego,
Okay.
yeah. It's pretty cool. It's like 1,000 people in a field. It rains.
Where was
It's
that?
miserable. In Delaware?
I feel like a lot of regional burns have the word fuego. All right.
Utopia del Fuego. Yeah, so I came back from that and loved it, had a great time, told these guys about it, and then we ended up going in 2012 to Utopia. It was the three of us and two other friends who were there, and we were camped separate. We weren't a camp or anything. We all had such a blast that we wanted other people to come the next year. We got this crazy idea to put a theme camp together. 40 people wanted to come along for the ride, and that was
Hold on.
terrific.
What was why? Why?
We just wanted our friends to go and
Because you had done Playa del Fuego, you went to the burn for the first time that year?
in 2013, right before
Okay.
Utopia.
Okay.
That was my first burn.
Right.
Oh, you went to the burn before you went to Utopia?
No, I went to Utopia in 2012,
Okay.
the burn the next year, and then Utopia with Triptych the following year.
Gotcha.
So after seeing that, so it was more just like an excuse to get all your friends like under the same
Well,
umbrella.
we all wanted to go together. And
Yeah.
we had a sound system. We had DJs galore in our theme camp, or our friend group at the time.
Because the reason I'm asking is like as you're describing it, it's very like matter of fact. Like, yeah, we want to all go together. So we're like, fuck it, let's have a theme camp. I mean, listen, I'm happily going to like any burner event that I can get to. I have zero desire to have the responsibility of a theme camp. So
It's really like rewarding though when you actually pull it off and you see people who aren't part of your camp who actually had a really great time and they like come up to you and like, oh, your camp's my favorite camp. Like I was the lead last year at Utopia, or 2 years ago now, and I ended up like driving people around and they would just compliment on Triptych or say how much they got stuck there and stuff, and it was really cool hearing that, like stuck there in a good way.
It is kind of an addicting feeling to feel like that people are having a good time and something you helped create and cultivate. So
And I mean, we had experienced something similar to it prior to that. I think it was before going to Utopia for this time that we did Cosmic Rain
Yeah,
Dance.
it was 2012.
That was 2012.
that was crazy.
And I will admit, I had been to few outdoor festivals at that time. Like I'd done like Coachella and a couple other things like that. And then Miss Alexandra here decided
her idea as well.
it would be a pretty good idea for Audio Impact, or this new thing, Cosmic Rain.
This is actually pre-Triptych a little bit.
It was pre-Triptych to throw an outdoor event.
It was a meteor shower party. It had to be outdoors.
In the middle of the Mojave Desert where there's absolutely nothing.
In August, though. In August.
In August.
God.
It was the Perseids meteor shower. Yeah. And we were like, that's awesome. Like, meteors, crazy. Like, that's fun. And it's like, we didn't think about the fact that
Like
it was
I lured a bunch
August.
of club kids out to the desert, and I'm like, come on guys, it'll be safe. It's fine.
There was definitely a few people that like decided to pack it up and go home early because it was way too
or to
hot.
Vegas.
Or we had a few friends that like they're like we're like halfway to Vegas, probably further. And it's like they just kept going. But I will say that like we made the party very affordable, and our whole thing was like, hey, like if you guys can't afford to pay the price, like we're
Like
willing.
volunteering
Yeah, like
options
you can volunteer. You can just pay what you can. We just want we want good people to come together and have a good time.
And and at the time, I mean, it was a cool event. I mean, Commandanda played our event like at the time, and this is when he was like up and coming
He
and
was
stuff.
he was still starting out, and that's why he was receptive to coming out to this past year at Utopia. He liked working with us, and he loved Mark and Alex. They showed him a really great time.
He was sleeping when I drove him 13 miles off-road into the desert.
she fell asleep and almost ran him into like some sand dune or something.
You don't need to know that.
Commandanda, if you're listening.
You're lucky you're alive.
You're lucky you're alive.
Yeah, I for one am extremely happy that you're not dead. Enjoyed your work. Who came up with the name Triptych?
It was actually like most things with Triptych, it was a giant vote.
No, it wasn't. The person who actually came up with it, you don't remember?
Who was it?
It was Drew Blyther.
Was it?
Drew Blyther came up with the name Triptych.
Was it?
Because we had connected with him at it was Tropical Hearts when Tropical had collaborated with Desert Hearts at the Res, La Jolla Res, and we became like instant friends after that. And then shortly after, I invited him to come play at one of our warehouse parties, and then instantly we clicked, and we wanted to like collaborate on stuff. And I remember he just showed up to. I don't know. He was kind of like part of the whole infant process of the whole thing, and he like threw the idea out there. And I think a lot of us were like, "What's a triptych?"
Yeah,
I think people are still like that. But,
what is a triptych?
I think the way that I take on the meaning now, like I feel like I've probably defined it after the fact, but to me, a triptych is generally like a painting that is comprised of like three
Panels.
panels of it.
God, I feel like an idiot for not knowing that. I'm an art major and I've done triptychs. Okay.
But if you actually look at the textbook definition, it's like three smaller pieces of art that comprise a larger piece of art. So for me, it just means that we're a sum of parts that is, sorry.
It's okay.
That is, we're greater than the sum of all of our parts, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But, at the time, it was just like, triptych, that just sounds good.
Well, at the time, we only had 3 treasures, so we were trying to come up with a theme that
and we had
revolved around
triangles and shit at the time.
Yeah.
treasures. Everything was like 3 related.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
We're very diplomatic in most of our decision-making process, and I think we all decided that triptych was an awesome name. And apparently Drew was the one who came up with it. But it
just made sense. Just kind of the idea of 3, and when we were collaborating with Dominic, who everyone knows, who did the temple last year. Disorderly Vandals, and it just kind of it resonated with everyone, and everyone it was kind of a cool word.
Yeah,
like 2 syllables. That's so fast.
But we did vote on it, like collectively, like everyone who was kind of in the early phases of creating the theme camp, like triptych, that works, and like we.
Are there other options?
Oh, dude, what was like
the one
that the long word?
The one that. And I apologize that this was almost the name of the theme camp because it was my idea. I have this thing with alliteration, and like I look back at it now and it was a terrible idea, but it was almost the triad of triangular treasures. And I'm so sorry. I apologize.
No, we were going to shorten it to TTOTT.
Yeah, right. Of course, that would have been way better. I'm triptychs.
Triptych 1.
Triptych.
The name, I think the name has been so massive. It's been so important to your recognition. And I mean, this is like a silly example, but it makes me think of like Linkin Park. Like if you could like read their story about how they came up with the name, and they're like, yeah, well, they actually spelled it funny too on purpose, but like pretty much every city in the country has a Linkin Park.
Right.
So they'd go on tour, and every city they'd go into, they're like, hey, they're whatever guys. They're Linkin Park.
They're from down the street.
Yeah. So I feel like triptych has been like one of those things where like the name like really instantly caught on with people. Like, and I think a lot of people on Playa don't realize how young your camp is. So Utopia, first Utopia, how did that go? Was it successful? Was it like, oh my god, we need to fix this thing? How did it come out for you?
It felt like such an organic experience. It was also new for us and so fun, and we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. And
how did you get that placement? You were saying that it was almost not supposed to be a place.
It wasn't supposed to be a spot.
Well, it was a road, and then they ended up making it a thing.
I was working for Meg that year, and she was doing placement. She was doing
Producer Meg.
Yeah. Who I love working for, and she kind of created that spot for us, and it was almost like a safety hazard, and it wasn't really supposed to happen, but we kind of made it work. And at one point, there was this big what was it, like the big generator like lights, the ones that are like super tall. It was like shining directly in our camp. And we're like, it's like totally killing the vibe right now. We moved, we turned the generator like 180 degrees.
Yes, no, someone went over there with a giant stick and like pointed the focus of the light like towards like the exit and away from like our camp.
But I don't know how we didn't get in trouble for that, but in any case, it became our space for that year, and it worked out. But
yeah, because you were doing what, like theme camp coordination?
I was
right?
I was the theme camp liaison for like a particular area of the of the festival.
Okay.
So and I didn't do a very good job. Pre-event, I did a great job, but I didn't do a very good job that year. Because I managed to was that the year that I got?
No, that was the second year.
Okay, no, I think I just hurt myself that year. I think I've managed to hurt myself just about every single year.
I think you like twisted your knee and you were kind of like incapacitated to some degree.
Did you guys like have camping experience prior to coming into the burn community?
Well, camping like at festivals and stuff, not anything hardcore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's brand new.
In terms of
that Utopia was my first year camping ever in my life.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh wow! Nice. My only burner event before that was the Utopia before, and which was fun, just super fun. I ended up like puking out a car on the way out, and I was like, I love this place.
Classic.
Yeah. I definitely
Classic
carried back my tent at one point. It was I had just enough fun that year. I was like, I have to be back.
What was it that hooked you guys in? You can speak specifically on your own behalf, or just even like the rest of your friends and crew. Like, what was it about burner culture that immediately made you say, like, I want a theme camp next year?
I mean, I think that first year it was pretty organic. Like, it was just a bunch of friends getting together, having a good time. But then I kind of realized, for me, it was. I didn't realize it at the time, but I kind of realized that it was this wonderful stepping stone for artists to kind of debut their talents. And for me, it was so great to see people who had these amazing skills that, could get up there and do their thing and impress people and, to show off whatever skills they had. And for us to be able to offer our friends that opportunity was, it's kind of what did it for me.
Yeah.
It makes it so fun to see your friends being able to just get out there and showcase what they got. That was fun. And then giving people an opportunity that they might not get elsewhere. That we really pride ourselves on letting people showcase talents that they might not have the opportunity to do somewhere else. So that's what I liked about it. How about you guys?
I really like burner festivals in particular tend to be 24/7. There's always something going on, so there's always like tons of adventures you can have. You can stay up the entire time and you still won't get to everything or see everything. I'm sure you guys remember the first year we went they had the a cavallo like horse pirate ship stage that was freaking amazing. And that was one of the coolest art cars I've ever seen.
Yeah, I just want to interject on that one. I remember going to the a cavallo wasted. And then like I climb up onto the ship and there's like the DJ playing. I'm like, oh, this is sweet. I'm like right next to the DJ guy. It was like Kevin Anderson. I'm like, oh, you're awesome, man. Like, what the? And then I realized you could like climb up higher on this thing. And there was like a staircase, like the chain like staircase up, like chain ladder. And I get up to the top and I just remember being up on this top deck where there's like hardly anywhere to hang on, and I'm like, oh man, this is kind of dangerous up here. And then I realized you could step out onto the poles on like the circus or the carousel horses, and you could just step out onto this and like hang on to this pole, hanging like 30 feet up, and I'm like, and I thought to myself, I could die right now.
Jeez, oh man.
This is awesome. And I was like, I love this. Like, this is so cool. You can't do this like anywhere else, really. I mean, it just, I don't know. It changed the way I looked at like what you could do at like an event.
Yeah.
Like just in general, where there's a large group of people and just like how free you were to just do virtually, within reason, whatever you wanted.
So showcasing talent. You can stay up 3 days straight. Imminent death. Yeah. These are the reasons. Okay. Got it.
Clearly, we're on the same page.
Yeah. Well, it also sounds like it's funny too, because like I remember when I arrived on Playa, my first burn, like that Jim was up there like trying to put the fucking dome together.
Oh yeah,
it was like
so
nothing
well.
built yet. Yeah, you were literally like the only person there.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like a lot of the same things that attracted you to the idea of building Audio Impact were the same things that attracted you to burner culture. Like, you want to be able to climb shit,
Right?
check the lights down, showcase talent of artists and friends.
Just kind of, just this subculture, underground, kind of like, I mean, obviously everyone knows what Burning Man is nowadays, but just kind of that different vibe that's like so, apart from like the typical mainstream thing. Like if you go to a concert, it's nothing like going to Burning Man or a
Does
Burning Man
everyone
or
know what Burning Man is? Because look, I think like everyone we attract knows.
Well, it's
Good
on
point.
The Simpsons now. I
Yeah.
feel like it's getting popularized, whether you like it or not.
It's hard to.
But yeah,
I still, it is past the Simpsons threshold. You are correct. I do still like meet people from time, like, yeah.
Who have no idea.
Like, oh yeah. The funniest, this is the most common answer I get though. Oh yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't been yet. Yeah, but I know you haven't been. You wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. You don't have to clarify that. Pretty funny. So before we move on from that first year, that was the year that I spent a lot of time at Triptych that year. Mostly, like, I spent a lot of time talking to Richard and like also like knowing you and so coming into Utopia. One of the defense mechanisms that I developed from years of navigating the entertainment industry has been, I walk into a room and there's all these like divas and personalities and like artists, like they're earlier and bigger. My insecurities kick in. And so my defense mechanism would be like, I'd hype myself up like, okay, you're fucking Arash. You're going to own this room. Watch. So Utopia, I came in and I was feeling that anxiety. And I told myself like, fucking Arash, you're gonna own this place. And I ate the mushrooms and Utopia was like, no, you're not. So a lot of my Friday night, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I've told the story on this show before, so listeners might have heard it, but yeah, a big chunk of my Friday night was spent curled up on the floor of Triptych in a very dark place.
Somebody gave you a blanket.
were you curled up in the lounge? A lot of people.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's what happened. Like, I was there, my friend, my buddy Chris, who is like childhood friends with Jake Holler. So that's how I ended up coming. Chris was like, "Hey, you should go to this thing. It's fun." I'm like, "Okay, fuck it." And then and I came like, "What the fuck is this?" So like I think we're like sitting around, and the two of us really liked Triptych because it just felt like our kind of vibe. Like there was like the way the chairs were set up, and we'd like sit there and just randomly talk to people, smoke out, whatever. It just felt very comfortable for us. So we went back to that area, and then like Chris is sitting there, and I'd eaten like a bunch of fucking, like, these aren't kicking in, let me eat more. So I end up just like starting to feel like, like when you get like you smoke way too much weed, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, man. So like you got to feel like, so I just like crawled to the floor, right? And that year, if you guys remember, it was like freezing balls.
Oh yeah,
it was so fucking cold.
Oh yeah.
And like I had like a shirt and a hoodie and like my scarf and jeans. Like I didn't have enough. Yeah. But I couldn't will the energy to get up and do anything about it. So I'm just like curled up on the floor, and I remember like I'm laying there and I'm just thinking like there's all these weird dark visuals, and they were actually like quite beautiful to look at, but it looked like I was looking into the underworld. So anyway, I start thinking like I really just want like a feminine energy right now. I just want like a woman to just come and hold me. And a couple of minutes later, there's this like shuffling happening behind my back, and I hear this woman's voice go, "Hey, I'm just gonna use your back for a second, okay?" I'm like, okay. So she kind of like leans against my back as she's like, I don't know, taking off her boots or something, and she's like, "Oh, honey, you're shivering. Here," and she like takes off her jacket and throws it over us. and
What a
kind of
nice
like,
girl.
so she like big spoons me from behind.
Sometimes everyone needs to be the little spoon.
Oh my God, it was
Being
great.
little spoon is awesome.
It was perfect. And I mean, for listeners who don't know, I'm 6'5", so it was really amusing. So we end up having this like long, deep conversation. Like, it must have been like 45 minutes of us talking without making eye contact.
You didn't know what she looked like.
Well, I ended up like admitting out loud for the first time that I'm a lot more of an introvert than I've ever accepted being, and I felt like this huge weight lift off my shoulder. It was very therapeutic. Mm-hmm. And then so like finally I turn around and like face her, and I don't remember, like she's very beautiful. She's beautiful. She's older than me. I know that. And I think at some point finally like she got up and she's like, she wanted to go use the restroom. She wanted me to go with her, and I'm like, I can't get up. This isn't happening. And then so I mustered the strength to get up and leave. But I remember like during this time period, there was a moment there where she was like taking my hands and like putting it on what I thought were her legs. But then I'm like, wait, that doesn't feel right, because that's not your leg. And then wait, why is there a knee here? And then she'd like move my hand and put it somewhere else. And I'm like, I didn't understand what was happening. The next day, Chris told me that this is what happened. And I thought this whole thing lasted like, 4 hours. The next day, Chris said this is what happened. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go afterwards. You can. We sat down. I took a hit of weed, immediately crawled to the floor. Within 5 minutes, 5 different girls came and piled up on top of me. That's why I couldn't tell what body it was like. It was an insane experience, but very powerful and important. And then the next day ended up being beautiful. That's what hooked me into the community. So the floor of Triptych that year has been a very, very important part, a very important chapter in my life.
We take a lot of pride in our floor.
I contributed a couple of pillows to you guys. I remember I got up at the end and like I took my scarf and I'm like, my scarf, it was a blanket and now it will be my scarf and I shall journey. And I'm like saying this out loud. I'm like mustering the strength. I'm just going to go explore. And like I remember like Logan is sitting there with a couple other people and they're just looking at me like, okay. Just kind of stared at me. I'm like, all right, off I go. And they just kind of waved like, all right, weirdo. So anyway, so that year, that was very, very important part of my journey into the burner community.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was important for a lot of people too, because I think many of the people that camped with us, it was their first burner event as well. I remember it was Logan's first burner event.
Yeah.
It was a lot of our friends who had been part of the club scene, like the underground electronic scene and everything, but they'd never experienced anything quite like that.
Yeah.
And I think Utopia is really unique. It's even from the burn, it's smaller obviously and more like intimate, and it definitely has like the same overall vibe to it, but it really latched on to a lot of our friends who I didn't expect to.
It's also like paradise. I mean, you're at the burn. I think there's something special about the burn because you're like
You might die.
You're in it. You're in it deep. Like you might die. It's true.
I love that part of the burn too.
I mean, but you
Jim's
just
favorite
like
part.
you like the plausibility. Okay, anyway.
You can just do that.
Arash&rsquo.
The ultimate high.
The ultimate DMT trip. Go ahead, you were saying.
Oh, sorry. But it's Utopia is a slice of the burn, but you're in San Diego, you're in paradise, and
There's shade, there's water.
It's everything that you love from the burn, but you're comfortable and you're around people that are wonderful. And you have that diversity that there's so many different things going on, and it's great. But there's something special about the burn too, though. The burn is like there's something magical that happens at events where like you need to band together in order to survive.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about events that are like freezing cold too. Like there's something special that happens at events where you like hover around a fire. But
we're hazing ourselves.
But there's a reason our Utopia camp is always much larger than our Burning Man camp, because so many more people are able to come. It's a weekend long. It's an hour away from home. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that was really cool about the first year is that people who, like when they were running Audio Impact, it was like 3 to 5 people running events. And then Utopia happened, 40 people came together. Everyone did a volunteer shift. People were playing music. We ran an open bar, and everyone was like contributing to it. And that's like spawned kind of the way our group has gone after that. Like, we have events now, and we'll need volunteers, and like spots fill up in hours. Like, people always willing to help out in ways that they weren't necessarily aware that they could be involved in the past.
Yeah. So speaking of the burn, so the next time that Triptych comes together is the burn. What is that? 2013?
We're
2014?
Wait.
Oh, the next time that Triptych did an event.
Yeah. After that Utopia.
After that Utopia.
We did 14 as support camp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
for the
Yeah.
SDCAP,
We shared a camp space.
Yeah,
which
I feel
was-
like that's where I met you.
Yeah, that is where you met me. I remember, I mean, I don't know if this was the moment that we met. I know that the moment that stuck out to me as the moment that you became a significant person in my life was when I was having a near meltdown, and you're like, why don't you sit down and have a meal or something? You're like, here. And you're like, here, eat this. I'm like, yeah,
So
you're right. I do
logical,
need to eat this right now. Yeah, it's so that year, that was my first year, and I was co-lead on the San Diego Regional Project, which was at the Souk. At this,
Souk. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was
the passport thing. Right?
Yeah. The Abite travel agency, Abite travel. There's argument about how to pronounce it. I still don't know how to pronounce that fucking name.
That might be part of the fun.
Abite travel agency. Yeah.
Repertoire.
And Finn, if she's listening, like, she corrects me on it every time. Anyway, so it was that, and it was a lot. And I remember a lot of people had said, like, don't take on responsibility your first burn. How right they were. But you guys were there. You had the dome set up, but a lot of the plans that you had on things that you wanted to do didn't quite happen that first year.
Oh,
Most that year.
The fact that we got a dome up was kind of a miracle. The fact that we even had it to bring out there. Allie and I remember it was within the last 2 to 3 weeks of even like heading out there. We were like working 8 hours a night, like practically like every night of the week, just to like cut and smash and drill and spray paint all of the pieces to like make this thing come up. Bryce had no faith in us at all. And I remember he went out and bought his own like canopy thing and was like, I want shade, motherfuckers. But we managed to pull it together to at least get the dome out there.
Yeah.
And the work we did on both of our cars to be able to tow it out there.
Oh man,
Jim was drilling.
They were looking at YouTube videos on how to like add an additional.
I had to add a transmission fluid cooler to my car, and then Jim had to drill through.
This is a woman who has never like done car maintenance.
Yeah, I don't know how to add air to my tires.
And she's like, YouTube time, let's do this. And like she added additional cooling to her Honda Pilot in order to be able to tow a trailer. We learned how to add the
I had to set up a new like brake controller electrical system to my car. It came to the point where I had to drill through the firewall where I was like,
Oh my god.
wow, am I gonna die if I do this right now? Am I gonna die in a fiery car crash?
And as we're doing it overnight, like it took the entire night to do it. And as the dawn's coming up, there's a thunderstorm coming in. So there's like flashes of lightning. The whole front of my car is off. We're both like out there drilling underneath the cars. Finally get it finished like before the rain starts.
And it starts pouring like torrentially as we finish these projects that were the only reason that we were able to make any of this stuff to our like first Burning Man. It was impactful. Let's put it that way. We're like, this could have been the complete opposite, and we may have never gone like at all.
When you and I rode together, right? And there was the rain, and we got stuck in the line.
that was like the 24-hour line. That was like that.
Oh my god.
That first year that you went.
Yeah.
We were in like 26-hour line. That was.
I'm so glad I went up early that year.
Oh yeah.
Got lucky on that one.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine not going in early entry. Yeah, well, so did you guys know like immediately after Utopia or even during that you're going to the burn, like you're taking Triptych to the burn?
I don't think so.
I think it was decided that many of us were going to go. Mm-hmm. Maybe not necessarily as a full theme camp, but that it was something that many of us wanted to do. We wanted to.
No, we didn't get placement.
Yeah, but like that we were going to.
We
try.
tried to get placement.
We wanted to, but it wasn't. If it wasn't for the Souk, we probably wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get placement, and if we would have gone, we would have had to go camp out in the middle of wherever.
Yeah, because we had space, but we had a very small staff. So we had
you
room.
needed people and we needed a place.
Yeah.
It was a good match.
It was a good trade-off.
Because we're like, oh, well, you know, we don't have placement, we don't have early entry, we can still show up and do like a renegade, this and that, and it seemed like really, it was kind of bleak for a second, because we were like, yeah, let's do this, we can do this. We did Utopia, which was so much less than what you need to do at the burn, like, and it was kind of bleak when we got that email like, we regret to inform you you haven't been accepted to Yale University.
So you applied to be Triptych and VMware didn't allow it, and then you ended up coming.
We didn't have the treasures that year because
Okay.
Dom had taken the treasures with Trifecta and got his art on the Esplanade. Which
Right,
is
I remember.
awesome.
I remember because somebody
we were
took a
like
shit
a
in
dome.
one.
yeah, exactly.
It's like we're bringing a dome to Burning Man, and the people are like, there's just like a million domes.
Yeah, great, thanks. So then afterwards, the opportunity came along to come in with this.
Yeah, and there was way less pressure that way. It was
Yeah.
mainly just kind of, help us kind of fill up the spot.
Yeah.
And, if you guys want to, put anything on, do music and
We
whatnot.
tried to do music.
Yeah, and we tried during a sandstorm, which didn't work out well for all of the equipment that we had.
You know what? Though we didn't get to do the full sound camp that we wanted to do,
It's true.
Trifecta that year had some sound issues, like a couple of their speakers blew, and we got to come in for the save.
Yeah.
With our sound system, which was it was what you would bring to a little tiny club. And we had it on the Esplanade. We brought it out to them. They're like, we got these speakers right here coming to save the day right now. We'll bring them. Can we get up on the decks? And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. But we got to play an Esplanade later, so that was kind of fun. But we helped them out a little bit, and that was fun. But
It was kind of like a catalyst for the next year at Utopia,
Yeah, we teamed
collaborating.
we teamed up the next year.
with the adult playground and stuff, and I don't know. It's all been this weird synchronistic kind of thing. It's
Yeah. It's true.
It seems like everything's pretty magical when it comes to the whole Burning Man thing.
So
but
absolutely. What was different about the second Utopia versus the first?
I think there was a bigger emphasis on just really coming together and highlighting just people in general, people's talents. So we tried to make the set time, and for some people it wasn't something that was received very well. But a lot of camps would do hour and a half, 2 hour sets. For us, we were doing 1 hour sets and trying to bring in as many people in the community as possible. Mm-hmm. We tried to have live artists. We tried to have. We just tried to bring in as many facets as possible.
We had the Jumbie Art collaboration too.
Yeah, we
tried. We did our first go at trying to make a legitimate village between different tribes within the community, because we had that experience with Trifecta and the adult playground, and we really wanted to make that a thing and collaborate with them.
And producer Meg was really trying to encourage cooperation that year between different tribes and different people.
Because up until that point, it was kind of everyone had their own thing. It wasn't people were trying to collaborate as to one cohesive
it was kind of like the battle of the egos in a lot of sense. And I think since Meg kind of decided no, let's come together. In a lot of ways, people have banded together, and people are hey, I do this thing really well, and you do this thing really well, and it's actually shown through. People come together, and you see the best of all sorts of different.
Somebody needed to go and make the introductions and the pitch the ideas and hold the hands together.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
And I mean, we were relatively new jacks in the situation too.
Yeah, we were very receptive to it.
And we were yeah, this
we're just that just makes it easy.
We can use all the help we can get.
Thing that we like.
Yeah.
We also hadn't built up any animosities yet. Everybody so far.
Yeah, so of course, then we go back to this past year's burn, where you guys were a legit setup camp with tons of attendance and all that. How did that come together? Did you have like a more established plan before you went after BMorg? Like, what were the big lessons that you learned and how you approached this past year? The burn.
I think building up to this last Utopia, the main project that kind of pushed it further was we had with collaborating with Dominic and Disorderly Vandals doing the side stage at Lucidity last year, because we had came together to basically change the space. The year before, Dominic had brought out his 6 treasures, and we'd worked really hard to bring it out there, and it was kind of like a plug and play thing. Like where we brought the treasures, set them up, it was good to go, set it, forget it, and then we just had fun the rest of the weekend. But the year after that, this prior year, like we built a stage. Dominic worked incredibly hard to get that like marquee up. We collaborated with one of the elders of the Goddess Grove there to have his production company bring out like sound, and it was like a giant collaboration of people to put together like a really large production, and we were, for better or worse, stuck right next to the main stage in like somewhat of an unfortunate spot. Like we could have like repositioned ourselves to make it better, but like
they had a giant sound system that drowned us out at times.
Just
really?
But
especially because they wanted live music happening at our stage sometimes, and it happened to be during some of the loudest sets on the main stage.
we tried to be diverse with our sound, and that
but it really like pushed the production forward, because even the year before Utopia, it was relatively like low key. We didn't have like a giant stage. Like I brought out like my small trussing setup, which it was very modest.
Well, and Keith had built his bar by that time too. Like our first year at Utopia, we had an open bar on a fold up table.
Yeah, it was like a whole
with
6
light
foot.
aimed at it.
Yeah.
I think it had a tablecloth.
Burner Podcast.
Ladies and gents, quick break, as always, to remind you guys that you can find the show on iTunes and on Libsyn and on Stitcher Radio and on SoundCloud and now on Spreaker. And make sure you check out the Burner Podcast blog, where we do some random updates of funny shit. And our online editor, Tanasi, shares some truly fascinating Burning Man shit. Sometimes it's stuff that he writes on his own. Sometimes it's things that he's aggregating from other websites. And if you would like to contribute to the Burner Podcast blog, go to burnerpodcast.com and shoot us a message through the contact page. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your contributions. We'd love to communicate with you, and we want to know what you'd want to hear more of on this show. Do you have comments? Do you have complaints? Do you have questions? Feel free to shoot them over. We do get messages. It is true. People are listening. We know for a fact that they are. Some reviews on any of those platforms would be nice. But yeah, anytime you have comments or questions, go over to burnerpodcast.com and shoot us a message. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you want to hear more of. Let's go ahead and get back to Triptych.
Welcome home.
How many people attended the Big Burn, this past year versus the year before?
In terms of like camp size?
Yeah.
I think we had over 100.
We teamed up with Fire Conclave out of San Diego, so they were like camping with us.
Yeah, because they didn't get placement, right? So how did that work out? I think a lot of them
I
didn't
thought
get
they
placement.
intended to team up with us because we asked for like a large space that was way more than like.
No, I think they tried to get.
needed.
I'm not 100% sure. I feel like they tried to get placement or something that didn't work out, and we were like, "Hey, we still have spots," and it ended up being a great thing.
Kind of like how we got placement with you guys the first year.
Yeah,
but this past year at the Burn, you guys did get placement, though.
Yeah.
You were there. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was different about your approach this year?
We had a lot more to offer. Like Jim was saying, we had the whole stage set up. We had the sound system. We fundraised a shit ton. Bought a trailer. Bought a generator. So we like had all the infrastructure to bring stuff out.
It was very well
More
planned out
legit
this year.
application. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have different feelings on the thing, but we did a lot of fundraising, and all of it, 100% of the money that was generated through the events that we did went right back into
The camp.
Burning Man culture events, whether it be Utopia or Burning Man. 100% of the money went straight back into that to make sure that it could happen.
I as far as I know, I think Ego Trip does the same thing, but we, like us as patrons of the event, even though we're curators of the event, we pay to go to the events as well.
Yeah, we always pay.
Yeah, so it's I think Ego Trip does the same thing, but we're in it for the project. Like we have like a goal, we have an end goal for everything that we do, and we go and we try to make it happen. Yeah, and I think this year we came together in a way that it worked out really well. I mean, we had crazy weather. We had all sorts of drama and insane things that happened, but we banded together and we set out to do a project, and it came together.
Yeah. It's interesting. You guys, again, like, there's been a lot of buzz about Triptych even before this past year's burn. And I think, like, consistently what perhaps a lot of the community is seeing is the work ethic that seems to exist. You guys, like, really seem to jive well together. Like, you have, like let's get this shit done attitude.
I feel like something I've heard a lot about our camps, we have more of like a homemade sort of feel too. Like you'll see some camps that are just like huge, massive, multi-$1,000 productions, but it's all trussing and equipment that you set up. And like Triptych, you can tell that we like spend hours out in the sun staining this piece of wood and sanding everything, building it, and it has like a sort of homemade, like cozy feel.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's legit. That's what it is that everybody's looking for.
Yeah, this feels really comfortable to people.
Full custom. For better or worse.
Yeah. Do you, like, out of the number of people you've had with you from the beginning versus the number now, is it just continually growing? Have you had new revolving door of people coming in? Have you had people like be like, "Ah, God, it's too dusty. Fuck this bullshit."
We don't lose that many people.
It's I mean, we've had people come and go. We've had people come and go, and it's usually like, personal conflict that comes in the way, but then sometimes people come back because they just love it. Yeah. But I think overall we've grown. Wouldn't you say? Like yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we started, when we were officially like, okay, we need to make Triptych an organized thing, because it just started with basically us three and Mark for the first year of Triptych, and then we're like, okay, we need to make this more of a sophisticated, like, organization to some degree so that we can get stuff done. And it started with we created a whole board. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we created a board, and we're like, okay, anyone who wants to be seriously involved, like, this is your chance, like, let's do this.
Where did that idea come from?
I mean, radical inclusion.
Yeah.
We didn't want it to be like the Audio Impact team running the camp. Yeah. Like, if other people are involved, they want to be involved, they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, but see, like, it's, again, like, a lot of camps just don't think to do that. And then somehow
they're probably smarter for it to some degree. It does get difficult when you have a lot of people with a lot of different viewpoints on like a minute subject, and it can make it a little complicated.
It's tough sometimes when we have to because we vote on just about everything, and when it's like we're waiting for like
if it's over $100, like in regard to like a matter, it takes like a 2/3 vote within like all the members, and sometimes like some people aren't there, like blah blah blah.
It's almost like we almost have like a whip, like someone who's like, all right, everyone needs a vote. Let's do this. Make the votes happen so we can like do the thing,
But I think that like inclusive sort of nature about our camp is something like we don't have a DJ style. Like you can come to Triptych and hear any kind of music. You can hear live music. We have punk rock power hour now. Like we don't exclude anyone. So anyone who wants to be involved.
It is one of the only places I could find trance. I was very happy.
Trance. We'll break it out. There's a flow for everything.
Yeah. The thought though, like the thing is, because we've had like, for example, a previous guest that we had on the show was Dusty Poon Saloon, and their approach is more that they want to keep it like more smaller and intricate.
For sure.
What's the word?
Yeah, like intimate.
Intimates. There you go.
Sure. Yeah.
But so they'll laugh at it. They're like, yeah, it's more like a monarchy over here. We're like, this is the way it's going to be. Gotcha. Whereas it sounds like you guys are looking at continual growth, and that was sort of a thought that you had from day one. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. It got to the point where when things did get difficult, right, where we decided, maybe we do need to reduce the size of the board, or the people who are like deciding the major decisions.
How many people are on the board?
We have 12 right now, but we're opening it up to a few new members, so it might grow a little bit.
And we threw it out to
Why such a huge board?
Well, like Jim was saying, when we originally started, it was like, hey, who wants to like sort of run Triptych and plan the events and make the decisions and stuff? And we had about like 20 people who were really interested. Yeah. All came together, and then as people moved away, or mostly moved away, they've dropped out.
So board is almost like, it's basically like your full-time members, and then there's like secondary members, which are like, just tell me what to do.
Pretty much, yeah. Or people who might be more involved with a certain aspect of what we're trying to do, whether they're trying to run like the workshops, or just like a particular thing.
The group of people who constitute the camp.
And we're still trying
Did you guys have like student council experience before this? Like, where did a lot of these ideas come from?
I think we just kind of like, it was just like
watch too much C-SPAN.
We're like ancient Greece. We want to everyone gets a vote.
Yes. Okay.
Well, that was a really funny way to open up at the beginning, to be like, hey, anyone who's interested, you can be a board member. And then like various people are like, okay, yeah, sure, why not?
It was funny. We had like certain members who did not ever attend a meeting past the first one, and then like
they kind of filtered themselves out after a while.
But like we didn't have any rules in place as to like when they would not be on the board anymore.
We had to develop that all the time.
Yeah, we're like, wait, this guy hasn't been around for about 2.5 years, and should he be like making decisions? Like, I don't know, it's been an evolving thing.
I think we really took the Burning Man principles to heart. Like we're a Burning Man theme camp. Let's like if we're gonna be a Burning Man theme camp, let's listen to the rules. And so that's kind of where we've gone with it. And over the course of time, we've kind of developed rules around the principles. And it's kind of just stemmed from there. Like we've learned lessons. We've learned lessons as we've gone, and I think we've come to some sort of like stable point now.
For sure, and it's like we've come to a point where it's like, well, if you're not going to want to attend meetings for this period of time, it's like this is like something you have to do. And it's like we have a storage facility now. Ooh, you have to pay $4 a month. Stuff like that. Yeah. We kind of like spook people away with that one. They really want to be committed.
Yeah, that is funny. It's like you're a board member now. Now you have to pay money to be part of the
board. So then coming up on this year's Utopia, this past year's, every time you guys are getting back together, you're more veteran. I remember like just even walking up to your stage, like it was. You guys teamed up with which camp this year, Utopia?
Noise Revolt.
Noise Revolt. Okay, they're the ones with all the red.
Yes.
Okay.
They had the lounge there. Yeah.
They're great guys.
Spent some time talking to them too. Yeah, and again, like the same, like every year it looks like it's becoming more and more legit. Like it continues to move towards that direction. What big lessons or experience or takeaways from this past year's Utopia?
Safety. Safety is a big thing for us this year.
I mean, it was a huge emphasis this last year too.
no longer third.
I would say it wasn't even third this last year with the establishment of like Waldo and all these things. It was like the organization trying to take hold and make sure there was like this safety net. But I feel like, sorry if I'm like stealing your thunder here, but like we kind of want to take it upon ourselves to impart that with the general public of the community too, because obviously you can get volunteers and people on board to be involved with the direct organization of the event, but we think we want to take that a step further and make sure and try to get everyone who's there in on the safety of the event.
We're in the midst currently of trying to we're reaching out to our core members, and our core members are the people who regularly work with us on build projects, who camp with us at events, who just generally hang out with us and have fun. And just trying to gauge who wants to learn just emergency response training, CPR. That's the first one we're gonna work on is CPR, first responder training. But we're gonna extend it beyond that, and we're gonna do everything from like how to handle like a situation where potential sexual assault has occurred, how to handle or to learn how to do like general wilderness training.
This was a lesson that came after Utopia, or something that you guys had come to before?
It's been something we've been kind of interested in for a while. And
I think it's probably
before this last Utopia, we'd established safety and
security
panel.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've established like different panels for things, and that's one thing we wanted to try to emphasize more. And then after this last year,
I mean, it kind of catalyzed it.
Yeah.
And not surprisingly, there's a huge interest. Like, they made a post about it, and like 20 some people have already said, yes, I want to learn. I want to be CPR certified.
We have a huge group of people that wants to be more prepared. Yeah, absolutely. And that's awesome, because I love the fact that we might be recognized as one of the more fun camps, and we're party oriented, and we stay up all night and have fun. And
those day trippers.
We're ready. We're ready to climb on the thing and possibly die. But I want to make sure, and we all want to make sure, that we're ready to handle a crazy situation if it occurs. Mm-hmm. And it's something we had to deal with this past year, and I don't think that the situation that occurred could have been prevented. Like, we did a pretty good job of being able to like do what was supposed to happen, but just being more prepared, having more people ready to be prepared to handle a crazy situation is only going to be a good thing.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's really quite wonderful. I'm imagining just even, having starting, because it's a lot like, Uli Baba and like the thieves, Fool's Errand, like that crew, like doing the consents, like picking up that and putting that on their backs. So you guys taking safety and putting it on your backs, like that's something that you can help cultivate in the community as a whole, and play the telephone tree game. And for the listeners, by the way, I want to make sure that we're not going out of our way to avoid any subjects. There's just certain things we can't talk about in a lot of detail. And literally, by the way, when I sat down for this conversation, completely forgot that was a thing that you guys had to deal with this past year at Utopia. So coming out of it, you're exploring safety. These are the things that you're learning. Like, are you putting together workshops? Are you planning meetings and events? Like, are there things that are happening about that?
We're in the works of looking at doing like a big group CPR and first responder training. So right now we're in the process of gauging who wants to actually join up and like get the training. And then we're going to find different groups that can provide the training and see who can... who will do it for a fair rate and who's actually qualified to do it. And, once we do that, we'll have the next training. And the CPR first responders are obviously a priority right now. But we want to extend it beyond that. We want to be known as a community that is just somewhere you can go to that you're going to have a good time, but if you have too good of a time, you're going to be taken care of. Yeah. So
one of the changes that we want, like we've talked about wanting to see at Utopia, is that all major summer camps have a walkie, like a designated walkie-talkie. And at Triptych, like, we have a board member who's like on shift or whatever, and we all take turns so that someone's always responsible and like can handle any problems that go down, stay sober your whole shift. And like, we'd like to have a designated walkie at all the major areas to prevent any further issues happening.
Yeah, I would love all the major sound camps to impose something like that, because...
Or Utopia to impose it on them.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you're a major area for everyone to come together, I think there's a level of responsibility that should fall to you, knowing that there's going to be a bunch of people hanging out in your theme camp. Mm-hmm. And if you can do anything to make sure people are taken care of, do it.
Yeah.
And I kind of look in hindsight to Cosmic Rain Dance, and I'm thinking of all of the crazy bad things that could happen, and like the crazy, harsh environments, so much more so than any event we had done before, and it was like how bad it could have gone.
We had, under the circumstances, it could have been way worse. Like you look at Wolverine, and like when I talk about Wolverine, he is like the most amazing. He's like my superhero. Yeah. Like he's like he is a superhero.
And Wolverine, for the listeners, is he's head of the medic camp, right?
Yeah. He is like the lead EMT, and I'm not exactly sure where he got where he's worked before, but I'm like almost positive it's like somewhere like Compton or like somewhere like in East LA where like people are coming in with like gunshot wounds or stab wounds all the time. Like and he's like dealt with those situations time and time again, and he is like my personal superhero, and I know he handled the situation that we had to deal with at our camp as best as he could have. But if there's anything that we can do to help out, we should do that as a community.
So since we are talking about it, we just need to know yes or no. Can we clarify for the listeners what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
sure.
Let's okay. So because we weren't sure, I know initially when it happened, there's not only is there like legal things that there were legal things that we couldn't get into. There was also concern about they were like Triptych had like a tough thing to deal with this year, and let's not make it harder for them. But yeah, whatever you're comfortable getting into, and that you can talk about, let's get into this. So this was. When we've talked about it on the show that there was an individual who did pass away this year at Utopia, and it happened at Triptych. It was not at all connected. He wasn't connected to Triptych. There's nothing about it was connected to Triptych. It just happened to be that he was there. Yeah. And again, my understanding of the situation was that like there's nobody who has looked at that. And anything I say is incorrect. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's nobody who I've spoken to who was present, who talked about it the next day. No one has said like everything was done correctly. There was nothing that could have been done. This individual was already...
They suspected he had a pre-existing condition. That,
I'm
like a heart condition.
Yes. Yeah.
From what I understand, he had a pre-existing condition, but I mean, he exemplified it with maybe things that he did. But it's something that.
It'd be something if we had our own radio and someone were on site immediately, had been able to radio the right channels instead of having to go find a safety person with a radio.
It wasn't even that, though. I was there exactly when it happened. I remember being there on the dance floor and seeing this gentleman go down. And like I didn't notice it at first. And then my friend like kind of gave me like an elbow, and he's like, "We have a man down over here." I looked over, and someone was obviously having a hard time. He was laying on their back.
Someone administered CPR almost immediately?
It was pretty soon after that. I remember going over, and he looked like he was having a hard time breathing. And I went over, and I felt it, and he was breathing. I felt it on my hand. I was like, okay, he's still alive. It's fine. And at that point, one of the crew that was on Waldo immediately was radioing. We need someone to get here to help this person out, or we might need CPR. Yeah.
And Waldo, for the listeners who don't know, is a program that was set up this year at Utopia, where it's guys dressed like Waldo, or guys and gals, and everything in between, dressed as Waldo, and they had radios, and so they could call in if there was an emergency.
And there was different stations at various larger hubs in the event. Like it was set up to the point where there would be someone not too far away to radio, emergency help. And it was within 5 to 10 minutes that there was a registered nurse there administering CPR because there was an obvious problem, and he was having difficulties breathing. And obviously for emergency paramedics to get all the way through to the end where our camp was, which is virtually like the end of the campground. It took, I don't know the exact amount of minutes. I was kind of frustrated myself.
They were pretty fast.
It was quick. I mean, faster than if you were at your house and you had a heart attack or whatever it was for an ambulance to show up. It was just as fast, if not faster, for it to show up. It was completely an acceptable amount of time. And when they showed up, they continued to try to resuscitate him, and it just wasn't enough for whatever had happened. And he did expire at that time, and it was a really difficult situation for everyone. It was a very difficult situation for everyone.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I came and saw you the next day. There was some moment of silence there, and all the camp sort of turned off their music, and Lisa Dewey said some really beautiful things. Really, I thought was really, really quite powerful in that it was... She said exactly a lot of the stuff that I was thinking, which is like, let's not run away from this thing. Like, this is a natural part of life, and let's, be here for each other and not make it a taboo subject. And then for a short period after the event, it did become taboo to speak about it because of the legal issues that the board, SDCAP, was dealing with. Right. But now, I guess like time has come to be able to discuss some of these things and continue the healing process. How did you guys as a camp have to get together after that and kind of do some internal healing with yourselves? I mean, again, whatever you guys are not comfortable talking about.
It was chaotic. I'll be honest. It was chaotic. Some of us were dealing with situations where we had lost family members, and so it brought to the surface a lot of things that people were harboring that were really weighing on them.
There was also a lot of debate about
whether
to turn back the music and keep going because we're like a symbol for the community, or whether to leave it off as a sign of respect for the person who passed away. And it was this big debate in the camp for a minute about what was the best way to like honor this situation, like what our role in the community was at the time.
Yeah, that's. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was exactly the thing that I was thinking at that time. Like, how would I deal with that? And you guys ultimately ended up shutting off the sound for.
We shut it off for a while.
For at least the rest of the night, until to the morning.
Yeah.
And then I think we didn't even start music until the next day. And even then, it was kind of a debate, like what was right and what was right for us. And it wasn't until we had a chance to speak to SDCap and BMorg and kind of see what they had to say, and
which was very supportive.
They were great.
behind us, whatever we wanted to do. It was really nice of them.
Specifically, what really like touches my heart is what Jake Holler said to me. Like, that's what sticks out to me. He basically told us. He said, like, whatever you guys want to do, we have your back. Like, if you guys want to cut the music and just call it good, we support you. And if you guys decide that you want to play raging crazy dubstep or whatever the heck you guys do, like, that's cool too. Like, you're gonna stomp it out, you want to go do that, like, we got your back. You know, if you guys decide to do something and all of a sudden it doesn't feel right anymore, like this isn't the thing that we want to do, that's okay too. And ultimately we decided to give it some time, and we came together as we do for most of our decisions. We come together for our decisions, and we see how people are feeling. And we decided that, especially after they had the moment of silence, and the tribe came out. And they did like a
little ceremony.
They did a healing ceremony, a cleansing ceremony, and that was really cool because from what I understand, like, they don't usually like to interfere with like things that are outside of the tribe, like, you know, especially sharing anything that's more sacred to them and their customs. Like, it's not something they want to necessarily to do.
Wow. And
they came out there because I think there's a level of respect for what Utopia brings to the La Jolla Indian Reservation. And they realize that we're a group of people that comes out there, and we don't just come out there and just trash their land.
Yeah.
And we respect them, and they did something that they normally don't do for outsiders, and I have so much respect for that. We got to experience part of their culture that most people probably don't get to experience, and I felt like a lot of people were put at ease. You know, it was after that, and we slowly kind of got back into it and started playing music slowly, and by the middle of the evening it started to feel like a little more natural, and like it was really cool because though we were playing music, there was like people still recognize, like, just like Lisa Dewey, she, you know, we didn't forget that it happened. Like, there's people that recognize that this is something that happened, like someone lost their life. It was sacred and precious. And there was flowers where the man passed away, and there was people who came up throughout the night, and, you know, they paid their respects. and it was a tough time, and it was like this bittersweet feeling of like, you know, being able to move on and keep going, but still recognizing what had happened, and it really bolstered my feeling about the community. Like I felt so much respect for this community, because I think you look at a lot of event coordinators, and like that stuff happens. That stuff happens.
Yeah.
Like you go to some events without naming names of events, but you see people gurneying out on stretchers, and it's just like, it's not even a fleeting thought.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever, on with the show.
No, statistically speaking, we're way ahead of the game. Like, not just even just Utopia, burner culture in general. Like, statistically speaking, the numbers of injuries and deaths should be way higher.
I think it's the way people look out for each other, though.
Yeah.
Like, my college, I went to a women's college back east, and they said, like, they have this reputation for not partying. And it's not true. They just take such good care of each other when they party that it never ends up in the news, because nothing bad ever happens. And I think burner culture is very similar.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, sense of community. I think we also tend to attract kind of more intelligent people that watch out for things a little bit more, generally speaking.
No, there are limits.
Yeah, and so were you guys directly in contact with VMworld as well, or was SD Cap?
We actually, I think we mainly just had a conversation with SD Cap, right? And
That morning after, it was mainly just the leaders of the event.
I brought up with Meg when they met up with Nicole and made the initial phone call to VMworld. And their response was very similar, like, hey, we have to check out the legality as far as what we can communicate. Right. Trying to manage social media, which could blow up and be a nightmare. But at the same time, like, we've got your backs, whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah.
It's a really reassuring feeling from your bosses or leaders or whatever.
Right. Have you guys had any contact with this man's family or anybody since?
No one really knew him.
No,
I mean, again, to clarify, he was not connected at all to you guys, just out of curiosity.
He wasn't connected to us directly, but apparently he was someone who was within the community, and he had a lot of friends within the community who just weren't at that event that time. I think he kind of just flew stag at that particular event.
Wow.
But we extended the offer to come out to the last couple of years. We've done a decom. Which is just like our little after party, which is not as...
Because Utopia is not really decompression for us.
Yeah, we have so much planning and stuff. But our decom is a little bit less headache for us. And we actually extended the offer for his friends to come out to the decom. And, I think they decided not to come. But, it was there, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit of a mystery to us, as to who he was and where he came from. But
that's that's the heavy stuff, and such a you guys have experienced a lot in a very short period of time. Like, it's been like this meteoric rise in attention that you're getting. I mean, Bob was a previous guest and co-lead on the show. Like, he had told me that he told you guys that he thinks you're the next district. Like, there's a lot of...
God, don't put that on.
There's a lot of vision out there. Like, there's I've heard a lot of people, like, there's word on the street is that Triptych is going to be a much bigger deal than it is, and it's going to. And if you're going to continue growing at the rate that you're growing and the speed you're experiencing things, and and it's of course it's quite unfortunate that this experience existed, but it seems to line up with the way that you guys have been plowing forward with all these different things that have been happening in such a short period of time.
There was definitely a moment after Utopia, after
well, and then
our
after the generators
party
went out on Saturday night,
Yeah.
so it's like our camp was fucked at Utopia.
But even beyond that, beyond Utopia, beyond like our after party, after all that stuff, it was some months before we all came together as the decision making like head of our group to kind of like
see if we wanted to
if we like what are we doing, like are we something that we still want to do?
Is it over? Is it
over? Like,
so there was a discussion about it.
There was
over.
a lot of us were kind of like, are we going to step back? And
we had a we had a meeting, and it was kind of the meeting where it was like, where's everybody's head at right now? Like, how do you feel about where we are as a crew? And
there were some members that at the time were stepping back and moving away, very like pivotal members, people that contributed a lot, like the last year. And go ahead and continue.
And I think we kind of came to a consensus that we didn't want the camp to be known as, the camp that was covered by the tarps. That's kind of how it was for a few hours. We were covered with tarps, and it was a dark moment. Like we didn't want to go out on that note, and we wanted to come back and continue to be the stepping stone for artists to come together and to showcase what they can do. And we love this too much. We love this too much to give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important to us. Like, this community is too important to us. The friends that we've made are too important to us. And it's when we started this thing, like I said, it was organic. It was just for fun, but it's become more than that. It's become like this network of amazing people that spawns friendships and more talented people that come together, and it's just it's too amazing to just throw away. And the fact of the matter is, mortality is a part of what we all experience. And I think in a big way it was a lesson to all of us that life is precious. And if we can do something to make sure that we're safer, we're going to do it. We're going to do it because we love all the people that we work with and that come and experience what we do.
What else could we learn from that situation?
Yeah.
It was either fuck it, let's give up, fuck it, let's party, or fuck it, let's learn something.
Yeah.
So I think we're trying to find that middle ground. Trying to.
I think you chose wisely.
Yeah.
I had a moment Friday night when I was dancing on your dance floor, and I don't remember who was spinning, but my right knee, I'd had an injury the week before, and suddenly this stabbing pain got in it, and it gave out.
I know that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and so. And this is silly, but it was this one moment where all of a sudden my knee gave out and I kind of fell forward, and instead of fighting against it and pushing myself back up and stepping off the dance floor, which would have been historically what I would have done, I spun into it and I pivoted into the knee pain and continued dancing. And there was this moment where and it was really potent. There was this moment where I all of a sudden experienced everything that I'd been through in my life that came to this moment. The years of childhood trauma, the spiritual and personal growth that I'd been to, developing the personal confidence to dance in front of people.
That's tough.
To know that instead of feeling to dive into the pain, things that I've learned through meditation, my body's hurting, instead of trying to make that pain go away, to go into it rather than pull away. And I remember very clearly, the visual was the triangle underneath the DJ booth. And I'm looking into that as I'm having this moment where everything I have ever been as a human being, as a soul, came to this moment where I pivoted and continued to dance. And it was this powerful, this is how far I've come, this is where I'm at, and this is the meaning of life right here, to just dive into the pain and continue dancing. So if you guys want an example of a powerful spiritual experience that has happened because of what you've done and what you've created, I wanted to let you know that was it. And it was very potent and huge to me, and I think about it almost every day.
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for what you do.
More than one. Thank you.
What's next? What are you guys doing?
We're in the early stages of kind of
making new art.
That's true. We're looking at the next evolution of Triptych. The pyramids are probably
Retired.
we're probably retiring the pyramids.
No.
Dominic
Never got a chance to shit in them.
That's a fun story because someone shit in them at Burning Man.
Damn.
I had to take that rug home in the back of my trailer.
It was a good ride.
It was a good rug.
Wait, you still have the rug with the shit on it?
No.
That was gone.
Okay, you just took it back. Right, leave no trace. Got it.
Okay, shitty trace.
You were saying.
Dominic has been like an amazing, crucial, giant part of what we do. Like without him, we wouldn't be. Like I think a lot of what we do is surrounded by the image that we portray, and like when people think of Triptych, they think of the pyramids. They think of the treasures, is what we call them, and they think of Grace, which is the larger pyramid, and since some of the traumatic experiences that he's encountered in his life, he's needed to take a big step back in what he's done, and like he's ready to give away a lot of the art he's done, and he's actually given one of the pyramids to me and Jim, and it's going
come back to Triptych.
Yeah, it's gonna be a continued part of Triptych. It's gonna
Set
be
it up around a porta potty.
It's gonna be an homage to what we do in the future. When in some facet we haven't decided exactly how it's gonna be, but it's gonna be there. Yeah. We're gonna have one of the pyramids.
So it's going to look different next time. We see Triptych. It's going to look very different.
Next time you see Triptych, it is going to be vastly different.
We burned one of the pyramids down at our decom.
Oh wow!
In remembrance of those who have fallen, we burned one of them down, and Dom's getting ready to give away to people who have meant a lot to him throughout the years, people who he's collaborated with. He's wanted to gift the pyramids to various people. And fortunately for us, we get one of them. And we're in the early stages of planning what the new art is going to be. And we want to make it... We don't want to deviate too far from the pyramid idea, but we want to kind of like take that and kind of create something new. For us, we really want to make sure that it really captures what we love about the pyramids, and what we love about the pyramids is it creates that kind of feeling you get when you go to a restaurant. You go to a restaurant and you sit in a booth. You sit in a booth and you're like, it's kind of like this private feeling. You're like, I kind of feel like I'm secluded, and like I'm just like talking to the few people that I'm with. But at the same time, I've got kind of like the lay of the land. I can kind of see what's going around me. So we want to create like this sort of space that's safe, that surrounds the dance floor, and it's not, it's just a short trip from the dance floor.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we have, I guess, 2 phases coming up. Last year doing like the Burn full stage sound camp right into Utopia full stage sound camp. It was really hard for everyone. It was really hard, especially on top of when we collaborated at the Burn. There was a few like main builders, and then like labor got split when we came to like Utopia, and it was really difficult to get like everything done. And I feel like it was incomplete. It was a little incomplete, like the overall like product for Utopia last year. And it was great. Most of the things came together, and this year we kind of like took a step back and we're like, okay, we need to reevaluate like kind of like how we go at it. And I think for the Burn, we're gonna take it a little. We're gonna pull back the reins a little bit. We're not gonna do like a full sound camp this year.
That's why we want to collaborate this year. We want to, we want to focus on Utopia this year. So we want to team up with a crew that's going to do something really awesome for the burn, and we're going to bring our own little spark or whatever to the burn.
But at the same time, we have people who've never been to the burn who are now finally like really excited about going, and it's kind of infused new energy into what we're going to bring out there.
And I think we're gonna try to, like, whether it be like, I guess, like a test run of the thing, we're gonna try to throw out the whole safety aspect of what we're trying to go for now. Try to like put that emphasis on it, whether it be through like workshops or like guiding people to resources and different things within the community and outside of the community. Try to kind of more emphasize that at Burning Man. And then kind of try to come back with that, with what we did before last year at Utopia.
Yeah.
Because we just want to, we want to try to bring something new, like something like try to emphasize something new and something different this year.
People obviously are wanting to.
Yeah.
I think maybe we've evolved a little bit in terms of. I never want us to lose sight of the fact that like we're a great fun place to come to, but I want us to like, we've been doing this for a few years now, and like I want us to be a little more adult about how we like delve into things and being safe and making sure like people know what to do in certain situations. That's probably one of the best ways that we can do that.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love how much thought you guys are giving into it. This is really fucking awesome. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for coming on and telling us your story and being so candid. We really do appreciate everything that you guys do, and I know I can speak on behalf of the community as a whole when I thank you for all the hard work that you're putting into everything and all the thoughts.
And we just want to thank the community for how much they're giving to us and how much they've contributed to what we're trying to do as well.
Fucking hugs all around.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right, you can tweet me directly at Mr. Arash. That's MRARASH. And when discussing the show, please do use the hashtag #BurnerPodcast. You can also catch me on the Crappy Awesome podcast. It is a weekly interview show and a staple in the independent hip-hop community for like 5 years now. 200 plus episodes. That's right. I was hosting a show before this one, believe it or not. It was about hip-hop. Weird. Check that out over at platformcollection.com. Our shows are up on Libsyn first and SoundCloud, and then they get on iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker and all that other shit you heard in the break in the middle. So leave us some reviews. That'd be nice of you. It helps us get more ratings. Our intermission music is produced by Duckman. Check out his music over at duckmansd.bandcamp.com. He's got like tons of music. Go check that out. And if you're a musician in the community, tweet your music over to our music editor, Navjeet. He is on Twitter at I am Navjeet. The Burner Podcast theme song is America's Horse with No Name remix, produced by Joman. Check out his stuff over at soundcloud.com/DJ Joman. This episode is produced by Meg King. If you have questions or suggestions for future guests, shoot them over to Meg King. She is on Twitter at @ThatMegKing. Our online editor is Tanasi. He writes and curates the blog. You can reach him by shooting him a message at burnerpodcast.com. Hope you'll join us next time. We do release new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. So until next time, love and light and all that other crap. Good night.